Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Johnny Vlogs. I'm John Lorden, and today's episode is brought to you by Brock Armand. Thank you so much, Brock. Really enjoyed talking to you on YouTube. And Christy M. Groves. Thank you both so much for supporting me via Patreon. And a quick shout out to all my other Patreon supporters. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now for today's episode, over this past weekend there was a bit of a cool occurrence on Twitter. I started noticing that there was a hashtag. I don't know if it was trending very high, but someone was obviously kicking around the hashtag 7 top YouTubers, I think, if I remember it correctly. And I was getting messages from a lot of people that I was in their list of top 7 YouTubers, which was extremely flattering. I can't tell you guys what that means to me. So thank you to each and every one of you that tweeted about me being one of your top 7 YouTubers. It really, it made my day. And it went on for a couple days. Actually, even this morning, I still saw that there was some of those messages still kicking around. So thank you all. But what was really, really exciting about that to me was being included in groups of such well-known YouTubers, which was also flattering. But then the more interesting thing for me was when you had favorite YouTubers that were also my favorite YouTubers. So I have had people ask me in the comments in the past, what I thought about specific YouTubers, or if some people were my favorites or not. So I thought for this episode of Johnny Vlogs, why don't we run down the list of my top 7 favorite YouTubers. And I know some of you were doing these lists in order of people being your favorites. Other people said that these were in no specific order. I've tried to put these into order, and we're going to go from the bottom of the list, from number 7, all the way to the top, number 1. But keep in mind that this is a very fluid list. I literally went through my YouTube subscriptions, and I have somewhere between 230 to 250 different channels that I subscribe to. And I went through every single one in terms of considering them for this list. And what I realized was sometimes I have a bit of a drive towards one channel where I really want to consume a lot of their content, and I'll watch all their old videos and catch up to their new stuff. And then other times that seems to fade away, and I'll just watch some of their old videos and they'll keep releasing new stuff, but for some reason I drift away from them, and I'm sure that that happens with certain viewers of mine as well. So I did recognize when I was going through this list, it's like, oh, that person's my favorite. Well, no, they're not really my favorite anymore. I really tried to boil it down to, if I see a video posted by one of these people, more often than not, I'm going to watch it immediately. And I use that as criteria to kind of sort my list. So realize that the closer we get to the top of this list, pretty much as soon as these people post a video, I'm on it. So without any further ado, let's bring the list up. Starting at number 7, Screen Junkies. Now, I was very fortunate enough to go to VidCon, not this year, but last year, and sit in a panel that was all about Screen Junkies, and I think all of them were pretty much there. It was almost like a dream come true. I mean, I was a little fanboy in that meeting. It was very, very cool to get to talk to them. I actually got to go up and meet Hal at the end and shake hands with him. Shook hands with the movie voice that does all the Honest Trailers stuff. Very, very cool. If you don't know Screen Junkies, I highly recommend you check them out, in particular for the Honest Trailers series. That series is hilarious. If I recall correctly, I think that it actually got nominated for an Emmy this year. So we'll see how that shakes out, but really, really great stuff. They have a very funny comedic tone. They have a love of movies that drives their comedy. So of course, for someone like me, that I really associate with that sense of humor. So I really love their work, and I'm just so happy that I was able to meet a few of them. And they are officially number 7 on the Geek and Dorks list of top YouTubers. Moving it up to number 6. And this is one that I only learned about maybe 6 or 8 months ago, but I will not miss one of his videos when he posts them. CrazyRussianHacker. I love this guy. If you haven't checked out CrazyRussianHacker for yourself, do yourself a favor. Just look at his list of videos, pick a topic that you like. He really covers all kinds of different some of them are pretty ingenious hacks, like little interesting things that you could try at home for yourself. But he also edges more into some experiments that you probably wouldn't try in your own garage. He can push not really into danger. He's very safe, but things that I might not feel comfortable trying for myself. But those make some great videos. As a little side note, someone that's not on this list, but I do feel the same way about that in terms of their kind of experimental videos, is the Backyard Scientist. I really enjoy his stuff. But CrazyRussianHacker has this other thing going for him because he has this very thick Russian accent. It's almost hard to understand what he's saying when you first start watching his videos, but his accent will grow on you, and he seems like a very personable, likable person, someone that you would, talk to, want to hang out with, unless he's doing one of those wacky experiments that might be a little dangerous, but very entertaining nonetheless. And he truly loves his work. You can tell the polish that he puts into each video, the lengths that he goes to try things out. Sometimes he'll buy objects just to destroy them. He's been doing this series lately where he's testing locks, like master locks, and he'll take a blowtorch to them and see how long it takes before he's able to melt through the lock. And it's kind of interesting stuff because, a blowtorch isn't that hard for someone to get. You can pretty much go to any hardware store, pick one up, and with one of those you can melt down some of these locks within a minute or so. So pretty interesting things that you'll come away with from his videos. And CrazyRussianHacker is my number 6. Moving up to number 5. Mr. Sunday Movies. Now, once again, we're back in the movie genre. Of course, if you look at my history just with my Geek and Dorks review shows, you could tell I love movies. I used to work at 20th Century Fox. I used to work at the Dolby Theater where the Oscars are held. I love that whole industry, in particular for a lot of movies that came out when I was a kid that I still love to this very day. Mr. Sunday Movies, I don't know if we're the same age, but he seems to strike into the same type of content that I love. He kind of edges towards comic book based content. He's got this great video series that are kill counts, like for every Batman that appeared in a Batman movie, for the Joker's kill count. But on top of that, his dialogue is just really likable. I believe he's English. But he's got a very fun sense of humor while he's making his videos, and he leaves some of that. He doesn't edit it all clean so that every video comes out perfectly shiny. He really edits them in a way where his personality still shows through, which I really like. One thing that's interesting about him, I don't think I've ever seen his face in one of his videos. So he also does a lot of footwork in terms of grabbing clips from movies and stills and pictures and weaving them all together into his videos. And for something like tracking a kill count on every bad guy that might have been killed in a film series or something, there's a lot of research work that goes into that. So I really appreciate how much work goes into his content. But more than anything, he's got a great sense of humor, and I just really love the way he presents stuff. All right, moving up to number 4. I know this is going to be controversial, but please hear me out. Yes, I will admit it. I'm a fan of Pewdiepie. Now, there is something that has to be noticed about that, though. If you look at PewDiePie's older content, he was a little clunky. He really pushed towards making the same type of video over and over, video games that would scare him, where he could kind of act a little bit like a fool in front of the camera. And if you look at his more current content, yes, he still does video game playthroughs and stuff like that, or let's plays. Is that even a term anymore? It seems like that term has kind of disappeared lately. But his sense of humor has really shifted into something different for me. I really consider him currently pushing into territory where only people like Mel Brooks would really live in before. I mean, cheap jokes, edgy humor, things that quite honestly have kind of fallen out of the popular mainstream media that we see. He seems to be making up the slack for that. He's a goofball, and obviously if I have a channel called Geek and Dorks, I'm going to recognize goofballs and generally be friendly with them. So I really like his content. In particular, I have to say, over the course of the last year and a half, maybe 2 years, he's really pushed his content in a new direction. Some of his stuff can get a little silly, but for me, sometimes I want to feel like a kid when I'm watching a video, and he seems to hit that for me. I don't watch all of his video game playthroughs because some of them get really, really long, but pretty much if he's posted a video and it's under 10 minutes long, I'm taking a look at it, and somewhere in there, I'm usually laughing out loud. The guy just kind of hits my funny bone. Outside of that, it's good, I think, for YouTubers to be aware of what's going on with YouTube. He frequently will talk about, he doesn't dive into things too heavy like, YouTube drama channels or things like that, but his sense of humor will kind of poke fun at those issues. So it brings your awareness up about those issues a little bit. But it's also good to just keep your eyes on the prize. I mean, this dude is the biggest thing in YouTube. I think he's got 47 million subscribers now. That's a huge fan base. He gives back. I actually watched a live stream he did where he was trying to raise a bunch of money for charity. I thought it was really, really cool. So there's people that you got to support out there, and when they're giving back to others and trying to do it in such an honest way, as I've noticed from him, I think that those people are worth supporting. So, like I said, I know he's not for everybody, but if you were put off by his content from a couple of years ago and you have not checked him out at all because of that content, I think you should give him a couple minutes, check out one of his current videos, and if nothing else, you're going to notice how this person has changed and evolved. And I got to tell you, looking at my old videos, I think you'd probably say that I've changed and evolved quite a bit as well. I mean, I'm doing much different type of content now than I used to do 2 years ago, for sure. So, moving it up to number 3, and this is one of the smaller channels on this list for me, RetroBlasting. Now, if you don't know about RetroBlasting, once again, I think his name's Michael French, if I remember correctly. He's probably around the same age as me. He loves the 80s. He loves toys and cartoons from the 80s. So that is primarily what their channel focuses on. But what's extra special about him is he's also a little bit of a tinkerer. So some of his videos will go into like how to repair broken G.I. Joes, or how to bring a playset back to life, how to reapply stickers to it, how to clean those white plastics that turn all yellowy, and how do you make them look like a real stormtrooper again, and stuff like that. Outside of that, he's done some really good analysis on cartoons from back in that era and kind of what they meant for the time, how some of them might be somewhat racist or, be a little bit less than PC, especially by current standards. I think for some people, his personality can have a little bit of a sharp edge, but I gotta tell you, all of the research work that he does is extremely well done. His knowledge of the topics is just always very, very strong. So I really appreciate it. I kind of wish they would put out videos more regularly, but I know a lot goes into their videos. But that being said, I love RetroBlasting, and if you haven't checked them out, I really think you should. Moving it up to number 2, once again, stuck in that, hey, guys about my age that love the 80s thing, Cinemassacre. Now, you might know of the angry video game nerd, James Rolfe. He is the person behind Cinemassacre, and that's where you can find all the angry video game nerd videos. I originally fell in love with the angry video game nerd probably about 2 years ago, and just started power watching all of the old episodes. Nowadays he does a lot of different stuff. He has James and Mike Mondays, which is him usually sitting down with his buddy Mike and playing some retro game, but he's not in his character of the angry video game nerd. In terms of YouTube successes that I look at, I consider the angry video game nerd to be a pretty big one. This is a guy that got to make his own feature film basically based on that character, and have it premiere at some prominent locations. So very good success story. I really enjoy his content. It's comforting. It's one of those things that when I see a new post from Cinemassacre, I'm like, oh good, that's a good way to spend some time. He did catch a little bit of grief that I thought was kind of undue for a review that he had done, or not a review, but he was just discussing the new Ghostbusters film and the fact that he wasn't going to see it. And some people were trying to pick up on that literally in the major media sources and show it as an example of some type of sexism or something like that. I certainly did not detect any of that in his video. I thought he was very clear about the reasons why he didn't feel like supporting that new franchise. And I think I just saw the other day that that movie is $70 million in the hole or something, that it's a loss for the studio. Maybe there was really something wrong there that people should have been paying attention to. I don't know, but Cinemassacre, definitely a good channel, especially if you're into retro video games. If you love that old Nintendo, or you're old, even reaching back farther to the Atari days, you're going to find some good content there. So moving to my number one, and this is strange because this guy I only bumped into right before I left California. He is known as AdamTheWhoo. He actually has two channels. He has AdamTheWhoo, and then he has TheDailyWoo, and I am pretty much a super fan of TheDailyWoo. It is a daily vlog. It's weird because I originally watched one of his videos when I was getting ready to leave California, and it caught my attention because I could see in the title that it was about him leaving California. And typically his vlogs run a little bit longer than the content I like to watch. I know, I'm the guy that puts out 30, 40-minute videos. Who am I to complain? But just for things that I like to consume, I usually try to keep it down around 10 minutes per episode or something like that. His content was a little longer, but I gave it a go, and I really, really liked his personality. I liked what he was doing, which was essentially leaving the comforts that he had put together in California. You know, he had a place he was living at. He was close to Disneyland. He had an annual pass. He was going there all the time. He was vlogging about Disneyland like crazy. And he essentially loaded up his van, got rid of all of his material possessions that didn't fit in the van, and started driving across the country. And now his vlogs are literally from one state to the next, just as he's going across the country. It's very, very cool. I really appreciate that he has put his whole life behind doing his work. He releases a vlog every single day. He doesn't take any days off, not even on the weekends. Very serious about his work, and he has a very fun personality. Another 80s guy. You're always going to hear quotes from Back to the Future, or you're going to hear, you know, a somewhat decent Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonation come out of him. But you're going to get to see all these little nooks and crannies of this great country, and especially after my drive from California to Minnesota, I really appreciate all these other stops along the way that not all of us get to see. So TheDailyWoo is a great place to check out our country with a guy that's a lot of fun. And one of the highlights for me in this little Twitter thing that happened this past weekend was someone included him on a list with me as part of their top 7 favorite YouTubers, and he liked that comment. I replied, "Hey, I love watching Adam's stuff." He liked that comment. It's kind of a big deal to me when you know, whenever I see someone that I enjoy their content and I can get them to like a comment that I fire off on Twitter or something like that, it kind of lifts me up a little bit. So that's why, honestly, I work so hard to keep up to date and keep track with everyone. I really don't know how to say it. Keep up with all the tweets on @LordenArts. So if you're ever looking to shoot me a message that can fit under 140 characters, be sure to go on Twitter, look up @LordenArts, and more than likely, if nothing else, you're probably going to get a like from me. There's a very good chance you're going to get a response from me. If I follow you back, you can also send me a private message if you do have, you know, lengthier content or tips or whatever. If you have a brain scratch idea you want to run by me or something like that, it's very easy to get a hold of me on Twitter. So just another way, just another tip for all you guys out there. And thank you so much. I didn't expect this video to go so long, but hey, this YouTube stuff is serious business. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you, and I will see you on the next show on the Geek and Dorks channel. Take care.